Good evening, and welcome to All Care's Summer Service of Remembrance. My name is Trish Crean, and I am the Bereavement Coordinator here at All Care. It is my honor to be here tonight sharing this time with all of you, along with my dedicated and compassionate colleagues and volunteers. For the next hour, I invite you to find a comfortable place to sit and to center and open your heart and mind. This has been an incredible year with many challenges, lots of sadness, and many losses. Even our grief and mourning rituals have been altered. But in the midst of these losses, I invite you to reach out for hope, love, and renewal, and maybe even growth. I want you to know that I stand here tonight not only as a bereavement coordinator, but also as a bereaved daughter. I share in your pain and loss, as do many of us here tonight. It is through meaningful attachments to others that our individual stories take on a deeper meaning and a greater significance. When these connections are severed, broken, or lost, it produces an inhuman level of pain, and it is this pain that produces grief. Bereavement is a universal and integral part of our experience of love and loss. So tonight, we remember and honor all those we have lost over the last year and beyond, while working to grow from our life experiences. Remember, there is hope out of sadness, there is life after death, and there is love after despair. My wish for all of you here and at home is that you begin to take the steps of hope and renewal. Grief is painful, but hope is possible. May this service provide some comfort as you navigate your grief journey. Let us remember and honor with love tonight. I now invite our Chief Operating Officer, Jo Mary Koopman, to offer some opening words.
Thank you, Trish. On behalf of All Care, I wanted to welcome you to All Care's Hospice Service of Remembrance ceremony, and thank you for joining us here this evening. Tonight's service offers us a time to reflect on our loved ones who have passed, and we hope that by joining us here this evening, you'll find some comfort in remembering your loved one and know that you are not alone. Before we get started, I would just like to acknowledge a few people this evening. First is Trish Crean, who you just saw, who's our bereavement coordinator and has done a wonderful job, both in her job, but also putting this beautiful ceremony together this evening, along with her team of volunteers. I would also like to acknowledge and thank our Hospice Medical Director, Lou Hayes, as well as our management team, our Director of Hospice, Mackenzie Shanahan, and our clinical managers, Lori McFarland and Erica Donfrio, as well as Mary LeBlanc, our Operations Manager. I would also like to thank our administrative staff and most especially our clinical staff. The work that they do in and out, providing care and support to our patients and families is amazing. So thank you very much for all that you do. And I just wanted to remind you that our staff are available to support you anytime, whether it be in the days or months ahead. So please don't hesitate to reach out to us. Thank you again for joining us here this evening. And next, I would like to introduce Mackenzie Shanahan, our Director of Hospice. Thank you.
Thank you again for joining us tonight as we honor those that we have lost, while also supporting one another in the grief process. I wanted to thank again the executive members of All Care, Sean Potter, our CEO, Jo Mary Koopman, our Chief Operating Officer, Mary Winters, our VP of Operations, and Dan Myler, our CFO, who continue to provide us the support needed to provide the best care possible to our patients and families, as well as continue our bereavement program and host events such as tonight. Thank you to our management team, Erica Donofrio and Lori McFarland and Mary LeBlanc, who ensure the support of our field staff, again, giving the support and resources to care for our patients. Thank you to our medical director, Dr. Lewis Hayes, as well as our operations and field staff. Our volunteer coordinator, June Richardson, which we would be lost without. And finally, a huge thank you to our bereavement coordinator, Trish, who has been instrumental in this ceremony and in continuing to enhance our bereavement program, providing the utmost compassionate presence, support, and resources to our bereaved. Many of us often are asked, why will you do this type of work? It must be so hard and so sad every day. It takes a special person to work in hospice, we often hear. Over the years, I know I've heard this countless times, but the truth is that no matter hard or sad the days may be, the reward, honor, and privilege in being allowed to care for another human being at the end of their journey makes it all worth it. And as far as being special, we are no more than the families, friends, and loved ones that care for these patients day in and day out until the very end. Most importantly, with times in such disunity, what I have learned is that in this life, there are only a few things that bond all of us, one of which is loss. And it reminds me how very important it is to have one another to share these experiences with, to listen, to hold, to grieve, and to remember. I'd like to introduce Lisa Kirk for our opening reflection.
Rachel Naomi Remen wrote, "Grieving allows us to heal, to remember with love rather than pain. It is a sorting process, One by one, you let go of the things that are gone and you mourn for them. One by one, you take hold of the things that have become a part of you, a part of who you are, and build again. You've all found your way into this communal space tonight with us because you have lost a loved one. It's safe to say that all of us in this room and all of you out there in virtual land have lost someone in their lives. None of us are alone. Ms. Remen's words offer a rhythm to this journey of grief. One by one, she says, letting us know that our grief will continue to travel with us as we continue on with living. The world asks us to get it done, to find closure. The closure in this regard is a myth, because grief has a life of its own. Just as one thinks it's gone, it can sneak up out of the blue. Tears begin to flow, sadness can settle in again for a while. And then one day, as we are living our lives, we notice its heaviness has subsided. It has weaved its way into our lives like the threads that are part of our clothing. It becomes a piece of our being. Perhaps even a friend who helps us to navigate newer, difficult times. This is where the hope is. Ms. Remen gives us hope in the idea of building again. Our wish for you this evening is a lessening of your grief, whether it's been a decade, a year, or last week since your loved one departed. And remembering them with love in this community, may the you are becoming shine a bit brighter. Blessed be. And now I'd like to introduce our esteemed Dr. Lewis Hayes. Dr. Lewis Hayes.
Good evening. I'm going to read Welcome Together, adapted from Gem. We come together as people drawn to life, and yet people acquainted with death. We come full of our memories, those memories that are hard for us to bear, those memories that give us courage to go on. We come together knowing that we are not alone, that others struggle even as we struggle, that others love even as we have loved and as we still love. We come together knowing that others hope even as we try to hope, clinging to the assurances that help us make our own way from hour to hour, from day to day. May we find peace and hope now in this time of remembering. We ring this bell in memory of those who have walked beside us in so many ways. We remember those who worked with us, played with us, those who have made our time on earth more enjoyable and our experiences in this world more memorable. We remember friends, mentors, and colleagues. We also remember friends of the animal kind, dear pets that loved us unconditionally and added so much to our lives and families. We honor all that lifted us and expanded our horizons. I'd now like to introduce Lori McFarland, Clinical Manager.
A Blessing of Memory, adapted by James Stern. It is hard to sing of oneness when our world is not complete, when those who once brought wholeness to our life have gone, and naught but memory can fill the emptiness their passing leaves behind. But memory can tell us only what we were in company with those we loved. It cannot help us find what each of us alone must now become. Yet no one is really alone. Those who live no more echo still within our thoughts and words, and what they did is part of what we have become. We do best homage to our lost loved ones when we live our lives more fully, even in the shadow of our loss. We ring this bell in memory of those who have been linked with us in the ongoing chain of family life. We honor those who have shared our heredity and who have experienced our common bonds. We remember brothers and sisters, aunts and uncles, relatives near and far, past, present, and future. We remember wives and husbands, lovers and closest friends. We honor those who opened us to ourselves and to life.
When the night has come and the land is dark and the moon is the only light we'll see, oh, I won't be afraid. Oh, I won't be afraid. Just as long as you stand by me. So darling, darling, stand by me. Oh, now stand by me. Oh, stand by me. Stand by me. If the sky that we look upon should stumble and fall, or the mountain should crumble to the sea, I won't cry, I won't cry, no, I won't shed a tear, just as long as you stand by me. And darling, darling, stand by me. Oh, now stand by me. Oh, stand by me.
The third reading I'd like to share with you is called the Healing Prayer, adapted from the Terma Collective. May our eyes remain open even in the face of tragedy. May we not become disheartened. May we find in the dissolution of our apathy and denial the cup of the broken heart. May we discover the gift of the fire burning in the inner chamber of our being, burning great and bright enough to transform any poison. May we offer the power of our sorrow to the service of something greater than ourselves. May our guilt not rise up to form yet another defensive wall. May the suffering purify and not paralyze us. May we realize the greatness of our sorrow and not run from its touch of flame. May clarity be our ally and wisdom our support. May our wrath be cleansing, cutting through the confusion of denial and greed. May we not be afraid to see or speak the truth. May the bleakness of the wastelands be dispelled. May the soul's journey be revealed and the true hunger fed. May we be forgiven for what we have forgotten and blessed with the remembrance of who we really are. We ring this bell in memory of those who have handed us the gift of life. May we honor those who gave us birth and nurtured us, those who endowed us with heritage and raised us, those who offered us love and cherished us. We remember mothers and fathers, grandparents and great-grandparents. We hold near our hearts those we have held dear in our arms. We remember children who have gone before us, grandchildren and great-grandchildren, nieces and nephews. I'd like to introduce our next reader is Joan Lombardi, one of our volunteers.
This reading is In This Time of Your Life, author unknown. In this time of your life, may you come to know what others have come to know, and having to go where you have least wanted to go, and in choosing to do what is most difficult to do. May you discover yourself becoming not just a different person, but a better person. Not just more seasoned, but more real. Not just more knowledgeable, but more compassionate. Not just more hardy, but more whole. May your pilgrimage through your experience of loss lead you to both renewed life and replenished hope. May you come to rediscover what you've never really lost, your truest and best self. And may you arrive at the place where you first started, that place which is still the same, yet very different. And may you find that this is where you should be. May you feel like you are coming home. We ring this bell in honor of those who mourn and for whom are trying to navigate the ever-changing path of life and loss. We also honor those who will one day stand where we stand today and feel what we feel now. Our hearts reach out to them. You are not alone.
So I wanted to offer a response to the question, what is grief? I searched around for someone to tell their story, and I found a grief response which is probably the closest to a perfect response concerning grief I've ever read. It's from an old Reddit post that I saved from years ago, so I couldn't track down the author. All I know is it's an older gentleman. And it starts like this. I'm old. What that means is that I've survived so far, and a lot of people I've known and loved did not. I've lost friends, best friends, acquaintances, co-workers, grandparents, parents, relatives, teachers, mentors, students, neighbors, and a whole host of other folks. But here's my 2 cents on grief. Grief tears a hole through me whenever somebody I love dies, no matter the circumstances. But I don't want it to not matter. I don't want it to be something I get used to that just passes. My scars are a testament to the love and the relationship that I had for and with that person. And if the scar is deep, so is the love. Scars are a testament to life. Scars are a testament that I can love deeply and live deeply and be cut or even gouged, and then I can heal and continue to live and continue to love. And the scar tissue is stronger than the original flesh ever was. He goes on to use a metaphor of a shipwreck to describe how grief affects a person's life, and I think it's brilliant. He says, as for grief, you'll find it comes in waves. When the ship is first wrecked, you're drowning, with wreckage all around you. Everything floating around you reminds you of the beauty and the magnificence of the ship that was once here and is no longer. All you can do is float. You find a piece of that wreckage and you hang on for a while. Maybe it's some physical thing, maybe it's a happy memory, maybe it's a photograph. For a while, all you can do is float. All you can do is keep your head above water. You'll find the waves are 100 feet high, but they come further apart. But when they come, they still crash over you. I'm sorry. In the beginning, the waves are 100 feet tall and they crash over you without mercy. They come 10 seconds apart and don't give you time to catch your breath. All you can do is hang on and float. After a while, maybe weeks, maybe months, you'll find the waves are still 100 feet tall, but they come further apart. And when they come, they still crash all over you and wipe you out. But in between, you can breathe. You can function. You never know what's going to trigger the grief. A song, a picture, an intersection, a cup of coffee. It can be just about anything, and the waves comes crashing. But in between the waves, there is life. And the waves will get smaller. They may be 50 feet tall now, and while they still come, they come further apart. And now you can see them coming. An anniversary, a birthday, Christmas, Father's Day, Mother's Day. You can see it coming for the most part, and you can prepare yourself. But when it washes over you know somehow you will again come out the other side. Soaking wet, sputtering, still hanging on to some tiny piece of the wreckage, but you'll come out. And lastly, he states, take it from an old guy, the waves never stop coming. And somehow you don't really want them to. But you learn that you'll survive them. And other waves will come and you'll survive them too. If you're lucky, you'll have lots of scars from lots of loves and many shipwrecks. Again, I don't have his name, but I love that. But I wanted to give some advice to all of you who are weathering your own personal shipwrecks. First of all, allow yourself to experience all your emotions, even the difficult ones, like shock and anger, despair, regret. I give you permission to feel your emotions. Feel them, acknowledge them, and find ways to move beyond them. Secondly, allow yourself to react when your waves of emotion hit. When they hit you, you can cry, you can talk about it, you can be silent with your grief. Do what works for you. I would suggest you find creative ways to honor your loved one's legacy. Do something special in their honor. Do random acts of kindness in their memory. Plant a tree. Write a letter to them, or write down your feelings about them. Hold on to a special memento that represents their love. These are all therapeutic things, and they are meaningful ways to stay connected to your loved one. I would say take time to make yourself a priority. Grief is exhausting. Find time for self-care, exercise, massage, take a vacation. Try mindfulness and meditation. It's not selfish to take care of yourself when you're grieving. It is imperative. And lastly, I recommend you connect with other people. They can be your life jacket. They can be your oar that helps you navigate your storm of grief. Find people who will listen, who won't rush you through your grief. Join a support group. We offer ongoing support groups here at All Care Hospice where you can safely express your feelings and have those feelings validated. You can find much needed emotional support and often practical suggestions for your journey. Reach out as needed. We're here for you. And I want to leave you with saying that time will march on. You will heal. You will have scars and many shipwrecks. There is a deep beauty in all of it. We wouldn't wish for the pain, but at the same time, we wouldn't want to live in a way that avoided having to endure it either. It's all part of this beautiful reality of loving our way through life. I'd like to introduce one of our great hospice chaplains, Tess Baumberger.
Thank you, Trish. Good evening. When Trish asked me to speak on the topic of hope and renewal after loss, my thoughts went to nature. Because I grew up on a farm, I've always felt very connected to the earth and to living things as sources of spiritual meaning. I remember going out into the fields with my father in the spring, looking at the tiny bright green shoots of corn coming through the rich smelling black soil. He would scratch his head and he'd say, "It happens every year and it's always such a miracle." Out of the earth that just weeks before had been frozen hard, out of a tiny yellow seed that looked dried up and without life, came this little start of something that would someday nourish us or nourish our animals or nourish other people. He was right. It is a miracle. We also see this with natural disasters. I'm old enough to remember when Mount St. Helens exploded many, many years ago, leaving giant trees just lying flat like matchsticks for miles around. In the mid-1990s, I visited the site, and though the devastation was still apparent, I was amazed to see these little sapling trees and other plants and even animals scurrying around and finding things to eat. This magnificent creation in which we live has amazing resilience, amazing powers of restoration, even after the most devastating of disasters. We are part of that creation. We're not apart from it, we're part of it. And that means that we too have this birthright of resilience. We too have amazing powers of restoration, even after the devastation of grief and loss. Just as in nature, this can take time. It can require us to find sources of nourishment as the earth needs rain and seeds and sun. On the farm, my father would let one of our fields lie fallow every year. That meant he would let the land rest. And he didn't plant anything on it except alfalfa hay, which actually enriches the soil. It makes it more fertile. At the end of the summer, he would plow that hay into the soil where it would continue to break down over the winter. And I can tell you the next year, that field would produce so much of a harvest. So though it's summer outside, it may feel like a winter time for you, a time after what may have felt as devastating as a volcanic eruption. But I'm here to suggest to you that with time, with some rest, with some nourishment and some support, there can be new life in you, just as there is in this wondrous creation all around us. So find what nourishes you. As Trish said, rest, give yourself time, reach out for support, especially for support from people like the people who work for All Care Hospice, who volunteer for us, people whose mission is to make the earth a richer, better place. We are none of us meant to do this alone. I'd like to end with a passage, an adaptation from Psalm 30, the beginning of Psalm 30. O Lord my God, I cried out to you for help, and you have healed me. O Lord, you have brought up my soul from Sheol. You restored me to life from among those who go down into the pit. Sing praises to the Lord, O you his saints, and give thanks to his holy name. Weeping may tarry for the night, but joy comes with the morning. Thank you. And I'd like to introduce our wonderful volunteer coordinator, June Richardson.
May time soften your pain. In times of darkness, love sees. In times of silence, love hears. In times of doubt, love hopes. In times of sorrow, love heals. and in all time, love remembers. May time soften the pain until all that remains is the warmth of the memories and the love.
Some say love, it is a river that drowns the tender reed. Some say love, it is a razor that leads your soul to bleed. Some say love, it is a hunger and this acting need. I say love, it is a flower that you, it's only seed. It's the heart afraid of breaking that never learns to guess. It's the dream afraid of waking that never takes the chance. It's the one who won't be taken, who cannot seem to give. And the soul afraid of dying, that never learns to live. When the night has been too lonely and the road has been too long, and you think that love is only for the lost, feeling strong. Just remember in the winter, finding the bitter snows. Lies the sleep that with the summer in the spring becomes a rose.
As our service draws to its closing, let us enter into a spirit of meditation or prayer. Spirit of life and of love, be with all of us here gathered and with the great company of those who mourn. Help us to cherish the goodness of life. Help us appreciate those we love. Help to smooth us and make us more whole. Help us to live, as best we can, the positive legacy of those who have died. Grant us courage, strength, serenity, guidance, and glimmering moments of joy. Amen.
So as we close the service, I want to thank all my colleagues and volunteers who came here tonight to help take part in this service. I want to thank our musical guest, Michaela Gelati, who played saxophone, John Piantadozzi, who played the keyboards, and Nikolai Moham, our vocalist, and he also played the keyboards. So thank you so much. I want to thank Bill Drinkwater, our facilities coordinator, for all his help. A special thank you to June Richardson, our hospice volunteer coordinator, who helped me every step of the way in putting this event together. And thank you to Paul Goodwin, our information systems director, for all his technical skills which made this virtual event possible. I am grateful to you all. Thank you. And I also want to thank all of you at home for sharing our summer service of remembrance. It has been a privilege to be present with all of you tonight. I hope this helped you in some way with your journey through grief. Remember, in grief, there is no rule book, there's no time frames, there's no judgment. Grief is as different as your fingerprint. Do what is right for your soul. And remember, the greatest tribute we can give our loved ones is to keep on living our best possible life in their honor. Good night, and be kind to yourself as you grieve. Thank you.
Okay, we're good.